So now the reason why I want to talk about this, this specific topic is because uh, there's a certain question that's common among us teenagers is, why am I here on earth? What am I here to do? What is my purpose here on earth? I'm sure we've all had that moment. What am I doing here? What is my purpose? And there's three different levels of answers that I can provide for you guys. Three levels of answers that I can provide for you guys. So without wasting any time, let me just shoot and get into it, So the first purpose that we all have is what I call a broad purpose. Now, what is a broad purpose? This is a purpose that is entitled to everyone. This is a purpose that everyone on earth has. A purpose that each and every one of us have. So now let's quickly go to the book of Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. Let's get there real quick. I'll read it from my side. So it says, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth." One of the basic purpose that we all have is simply to enjoy the things of the earth. We are here to, God made the earth for us. We are here to enjoy the things of the earth. We are here to enjoy the things of the earth. And of course, there's certain things that we are not allowed to dwell in, but our main basic purpose is that we are all here to subdue the earth and have dominion over it. That's what God said, right? Now, another purpose that we have is a collective purpose. Now, what is a collective purpose? A collective purpose, this is a purpose which is for a specific group of people. Purpose which is aimed for a specific group of people. Now, let's turn to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. It reads as follows. "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." So he says, you are a royal priesthood. He says you are a royal priesthood. So so this is, he was speaking to people who are Gentiles, who are Christians, the Gentiles who believe in Christ. And he's saying to them, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And you are here to proclaim the excellencies of God. You are here to proclaim his excellencies. So one of the goals that we have as Christians is that we are here to speak of the word of God. We are here to speak of Christ. That is another purpose. We are here to speak about the gospel of Christ. Amen. Because we are what? A chosen race, a royal priesthood. That's who we are. So now, the third purpose that we have, now the one that's very interesting, the third one is individual purpose. Individual purpose. Now, what does individual purpose mean? Now, this is a purpose which is a unique one. It's for a specific person. It's just for one person. It's not for all, it's only for one person. It's a unique purpose that we have. So now let's quickly turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 1. It reads as follows. "The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord." Now, this verse it's interesting, that they say the tongue, when they speak of the tongue, it's very interesting because you see in Proverbs, it talks a lot about the power of the tongue. The power of the tongue. That the tongue can determine what happens in your life. The tongue determines what happens in your life. Look at Proverbs chapter 15, verse 4. It says, "A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perversiveness in it breaks the spirit." Okay, it says it can either be a tree of life or it can break something. It can break the spirit. Okay, let's see what it also says in Proverbs 18, verse 21. It says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits." It says death and life are in the power of the tongue. And look at what Proverbs 16 said. It says, the plans of the heart belong to men, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So you can plan how you want your life to be. You can plan and plan and plan. But what your life really should be is in God. God decides what your life should be. God is the final say of what your life should be. And now, not only that, but look at again in Proverbs 19, verse 21. It says, many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. It repeats it again that you can plan, you can plan, you can plan, you can plan, but at the end of the day, it is the purpose of God that matters. Sure. So these verses are simply saying to us that, okay, God has a purpose for us. They are saying that, they are literally saying, God has a purpose for you. God has a purpose for your life. Now the question becomes, how do I get to know what this purpose is? How do I get to know what this purpose is that God has for me? Right? How do I get to know it? And the answer is very simple. It is just very simple. It's indirect, but it's very direct. That's how simple it is. And it's how do we get to know what our purpose is? It's by a relationship with God. Your relationship with God is what will lead you to your purpose. Your relationship with God is what will take you from where you are supposed to be. It is your relationship with God. Now, I just want to give us at least a definition of what exactly is a relationship with God. Because, many times you find that we have a distorted type of understanding of what a relationship with God is. It's a bit distorted. So, characteristics of a relationship with God are: this is a relationship between you and God, where you are in consistent communication with God, and God is placed first above everything else in your life. This is also a relationship which is practiced. And by practice, I mean it is practical. It is practical. You see, I want you to understand something, that it's not only about saying, God, I love you. It is also about acting. It's about your actions that show that you love God. Guys, let me bring it down to our level. Like, let's say you are in a relationship, guys. Let's be honest. In a relationship, I love you will not sustain the whole thing. Simply every day, I love you, I love you. But sometimes it is actions that say, I love you. It is actions that say, I love you. So, that is also what a relationship with God is. It is by our actions. It is a practical thing. Now, the question is, what exactly now do I receive from this relationship with God? How does it necessarily guide me to my purpose? That's the question now we have. That now I have a relationship with God. What will it do for me concerning my purpose, right? And the first thing that God will do is that when you have a relationship with God, one of the first things that God will do is He will align your character to your purpose. God will align your character to your purpose. And how this happens is that sometimes He does this by putting you in certain situations. Yeah, there's certain situations that He'll put you in because they'll take out something in you that's supposed to be there. And sometimes these situations are not always enjoyable. They're not always enjoyable. There's situations where it's tough. It's tough. But sometimes it's that tough situation that really takes out something in you. Look at what Paul says in Romans chapter 5, verse 3. He says, not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. He says, it produces character. He says your suffering, there's something that will come out of your suffering. There's something that will come out of your suffering. So, certain situations God will put you in just to take out something out of you. And one of the things that God will also do for your life is He aligns your character, is that He will start to work on your desires. Your desires. He will start to work on your desires. Even those desires, you've had them for a long time. He will work on your desires. The funny thing is, I never knew what I wanted to be. I never knew that I want to be a public speaker. But I've always had the desire to be on stage and talk with people. I've always had that desire. Since from primary, if there's a speech, I'm there. I want to be there. I want to go and talk, And He works on your desires. God works on your desires. Not only that, but one of the things that God will do to align your character is that He will call you out of the bad habits of your life. That is what God will do for you. He will call you out for habits that are not good for you. You know, there's one thing that my aunt said to me one time. I was talking, she said, you know, I admitted, okay, those things are cool, you know, those things are cool, but they're not for you. They are not for you. Certain things are not for you. They are not for you. And God will call you out of those things that, Yazini, you understand now we have this thing, but what you're doing is not for you. It is not for you. It won't get you where you need to go. Actually, it's dragging you back. You know, He will call you out on those things. He will call you out on those things. Now, another thing that God will do in order to take you to your purpose is that He will send destiny helpers. You know, in the beginning, you know, I'm about destiny helper. In my mind, I just think someone is just gonna show up and you know, boy, what you have a dream. 5 million. I'm there. But the reality of it is that destiny helpers can come in the most common way ever. They can come in the most normal way ever. Like the most normal way ever. It could be people you encounter even in your daily life that are your destiny helpers. You know, I remember, let me tell you a story of how it happened for me. I feel like I've been encountered by many destiny helpers. So there's this guy, we're at the gym, you know, so now we're on our way back, and okay, we go in the same direction. So, you know, for the sake of, you know, saving money, we just walk together, you know, and now fine, we walk together, and now he starts asking me, what am I studying, you know? Okay, I tell him what I'm studying. He asks me, what am I interested in? I tell him, you know, public speaking. And then after that, he has a conversation where he's just advising me on how, you know, if you want to be a good public speaker, this is certain things you can do. This is what you should start doing. Take videos of yourself, you know, monitor what's wrong there, because you'll never know if you're good if you never, you know, take the step forward. That's what he says. You see, that conversation, guys, there's nothing amazing about it. There's nothing, wow, you know, it wasn't those, if you can't walk, you better call. It's a normal conversation. It's just a normal conversation. But you know what that conversation did to me? Exactly on that day, that was the day I went home and I took a video and I started doing YouTube videos. You see, that was the most normal ever encounter ever. But it was able to move me from step 1 to step 2. To step 2, literally. Now, the third thing that God will do for you is that God will guide you to your destiny. God will guide you to your destiny, or in your journey to find your destiny. God will guide you. Look at what Psalm says in chapter 25, verse 12. It says, who is the man that fears the Lord? Him will He instruct in the way that he should choose. Sure. You know, as much as we don't see it, but God is always guiding us. We don't see it, you know, we don't see it, but God is always guiding us. And when you are in a relationship with God, you are able to make decisions which are beneficial to your life. Sure. You know, they say stay prayerful before you make a decision. At least pray about it. You know? Pray about it, and that's so important because you know that decision makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference in your life, and that is what a relationship with God will do for you. He will guide you to where you need to go. That is, you find that through relationship with God. It is through relationship with God. Now that we have established that our relationship with God is very beneficial in finding our purpose, the question becomes, how now do we pursue our purpose? You know, how do we, because you know, I'm a person who I think you can't just only dream of something, you need to be practical. So the question is how do we now pursue this purpose that God has given us? And one thing I'll say to you is that be practical. That's the first thing. Be practical. Educate yourself on this thing that you want to learn. Educate yourself on whatever career you want to go to. Educate yourself. You need to be practical. Many of us just want to dream and you know, hopefully somehow God will do something, and you need to be practical. You know, you need to be practical. Like I said, a relationship is not just where God is only working alone, but you are working together. This is a relationship. It's a relationship. You need to also be practical. And the second thing, which I think they don't tell us a lot, is that we need to strategize. You find that many of us young people, we dream, but we don't plan how we're going to get there. Like, strategize on what am I going to do today that's going to take me a step forward into my purpose. Strategize. What? You know, when you face problems of age, you know, there's a challenge, you know, in you being able to achieve your purpose. You know what I used to do when I face challenges? I used to take my scrapbook, write down what the challenge is, and ask myself, what can I do to fix this problem? What can I do to move forward? What can I do? You need to strategize, guys. We really need to do that. Strategize how you can move forward. And the third thing and the last one is remain prayerful. Remain prayerful. The same God that has revealed your purpose is the same God that will help you achieve it. Remain prayerful. You know, in order for you to know your purpose, it starts with a relationship. In order for you to achieve and finish your purpose, it also starts with God. Do not move away from God. Stay in God. So, friends, that is my message for today. That your relationship with God will release your full potential. Your relationship with God will release your full potential.